To another episode of Asexualized, my asexual life. This is the place to be education about asexuality, all things asexual, and I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please hit the great big subscribe button right down below right now. Don't forget to hit that bell icon too to get notified of every time I go live like now or post a new video. And don't forget to hit this video with a thumbs up if you like it as we go along. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you don't know who I am Sandra Bellamy, author of Asexual Perspectives, 47 Asexual Stories, founder of asexualized.com and founder of Asexualized Academy, which is the world's first online training centre and school for asexuals and asexuality. So in today's episode, I want to talk to you about a job interview I had today and what happened when I told them about my asexuality. So you might be thinking, why do I need to tell them about my asexuality? Well, you will find out soon. So today I went for a job interview because although I'm a self-employed author, t-shirt designer, and wear a few different hats in that respect, as you probably know by now, the majority of the last 3 years I've been doing stuff to help asexuals, the majority of which is very, it's either very low cost or low profit margins, such as, like my books and t-shirts, and also, they're not big priced items really. And also, a lot of the stuff I've been doing is for free. So, you can't make a living out of doing free stuff and not making a profit, really. Do you see what I'm saying? So I have to go back into an employed job unless I, push ahead with other aspects of self-employment, which I am doing this year. So I'm hoping that I can work from home permanently in the future. However, I was made redundant from my day job, as I call it, after 5 years of working for them the year before last. So in October the year before last. And so I've been out of employed work rather than self-employed work since, for over a year, about a year and 3 months. And so it's really important that I still continue to look for an employed job for getting income coming in. And so today I went for a job which I've worked in retail pretty much all my life since leaving college. So that's been what I've done. And I live in the UK and a lot of retail shops are shutting down, and it's really hard to get a full-time job over here in retail. And, it can be quite difficult. And this full-time sales job came up for a furniture company. Now, my experience has predominantly been for 11 years of my retail life in furniture industry. So I'm used to selling beds, bedroom furniture, soft furnishings, things like that. And this full-time sales assistant job came up. So I thought this could be really, really good because I've seen the shop before. I knew I liked the shop and I just thought, yeah, this looks a really good job. I had a good feeling about it. And I applied for the job, and the next day I got offered an interview, which was today. So I only applied for the job yesterday and got an interview. I applied for the job the day before yesterday. Yesterday they phoned me up to arrange an interview for today. So yeah, I only applied for the job the day before yesterday and yesterday's. So yeah, within less than 24 hours, basically, I got offered an interview, which is great because, sometimes it's hard to get interviews and I'm good at getting interviews. So I went to the interview. It was a shop I've been in before that I liked the look of. They specialise in furniture for small spaces. And they do beds and sofa beds, which I've never worked with before. They do storage solutions to put on the wall. They do curtains. No, do they do curtains? Sorry, they do cushions, I meant. And they do throwovers and things like that. So, yeah, I was quite comfortable in that respect. But the night before, I was researching the company and I found out that one of their ex-employees had took the co-director to a tribunal, an employment tribunal, for unfair dismissal. Basically a constructive dismissal, but their grounds was based on the fact they thought the co-director was discriminating them because of their race. They were Polish. And as I went through, it was a 22-page document of all the court proceedings. I've never seen anything like it publicly before. I was shocked. And it listed the co-director, what he said, what the old HR person said, who's retired now, what went on. And they said the director was rude about their a person's sexual orientation as well. But that was another issue they just brought up as a side thing, if you know what I mean. But when I read through the whole thing, it came to the conclusion, the court came to the conclusion that the co-director and even the HR person were cleared of, they were clear of being discriminatory on the grounds of race, but had the person filed for unfair dismissal in its own right, basically, like they can, they did it wrong. Hi, Andy. I'm partway through already. Thanks for tuning in. Nice to see you. So I'm talking about what happened today for a job interview I went for. And I was explaining that I've been in retail pretty much since I left college. And I'm looking for employed work still, because obviously most of the stuff I've been doing for asexuals over the last 3 years has been free or very low profit margins, such as a book and a few t-shirts, and you can't live off that. And obviously I have to look to get back into employed work or go into other areas of self-employment, such as my other business stuff, which is what I'm trying to do as well. So I went for this interview today, but before I got for the interview last night, I saw this PDF document. When I was researching the company, because you've got to research the company, I found this PDF document, which was court proceedings to take the co-director of the company to an employment tribunal on unfair dismissal on the grounds of race. And I was going through the document, and it did say that he'd made a remark about someone's sexual orientation, but it didn't say any details about that. So I don't know about what happened with that bit, but the main point is she was filing for basically constructive dismissal based on... How did you find that? Well, that's what I mean. It was shocking. It really put me off going for the interview, because I thought if the co-director... I wasn't so... the sexual orientation bit, I don't know what that was to do with, so that wasn't the shocking part, really. It was the whole thing that was the shocking part, because what happened in the end, the conclusion after the 22-page document of the people that were at the court, who was there, it was mostly the co-director and the HR manager, who's retired now, that which they had back there. This only happened at the end of 2017. I found it online, Andy. I googled their company and found it online. That's what I mean. Everything, this whole 22-page PDF documentation was from the company I'd applied to go to the job for, is a company director, and it was an ex-manager that took him to an industrial tribunal for unfair dismissal on the grounds that she believed he dismissed her on the grounds of race, not because what he said he was, which the figures were down. Now, in the end of the PDF document, where I've been through it took me about 2 hours to go through everything last night. And as you can imagine, going for a job where this co-director has already been involved in court proceedings is pretty scary stuff, And obviously with the fact there was a bit of something to do with sexual orientation in there as well, which I don't know what it was. Obviously that made me feel uncomfortable as well. But I'll tell you more about the court case in a minute, but they concluded that the co-director was basically proven innocent in a sense of the grounds of race discrimination, but had she actually just took him to court on the grounds of unfair dismissal, she would have won the case, because he didn't do the proceedings right. He'd already got someone he employed for the job before he got rid of her. And this was months. He knew in the May that he didn't want her in the company anymore. And she was still in the company in October. He didn't get rid of her till October. But they had a meeting. The HR woman was involved as well. They had a meeting. She didn't even know what it was for. She wasn't allowed, asked for any legal representation or anything. So they did the procedure wrong. And had she not brought the case against him to do with race, which he was cleared of, she just brought an unfair dismissal in the way what he said about her personality as well, which I'll come on to in a minute, and the actual, the mannerisms in which he spoke about her and her personality and the actual legal way things are supposed to be done, she would have won the case. So this, as you can imagine, going for an interview where you're seeing this openly on Google in a PDF document, the court proceedings, and this only happened at the end of October, and the woman lost a job at the beginning of it was 2017 it happened, but the woman lost a job then, I think, but the store was closed at the beginning of 2018. So that particular branch. So she was the manager of the branch of this company in Nottinghamshire. Yes, it's not good. My last job interview, I found some bad press about the company. Yeah, I always Google it, but I couldn't believe this. I mean, this is a unfair dismissal case, and when the co-director, because it's a small, family-run business, is like this. I mean, basically, what happened was, in a nutshell, he blamed her personality on the fact the store was failing to get its targets. And he has a policy that if any manager doesn't get their targets within 6 months, he fires them. Which is what he said in the court, basically. If they don't reach their targets in 6 months, he has a, policy that the manager goes and he gets someone to replace them. That's his policy. And so this store wasn't doing very well. So this woman was Polish. She was appointed in this shop in Nottingham as a store manager. It was a newly opened store. This was in 2017. And I think it was 2017 the store was open. Anyway, she was newly appointed there, and when the store opened, and that's when this all happened towards the end of 2017, October time, about losing her job. But it's from the May to the October that it took to actually get rid of her. I can't remember how long she'd actually been there off the top of my head. But anyway, he blamed her on her personality. He said she was too full on. Well, I have a full on personality, so I don't think he would have liked me. He said she was too full on, and the customers didn't like it. That's what he was saying. He was saying, in his opinion, the customer don't like it because he didn't like it. He said, every time I go in there, I have to put ear cans up to my head, earmuffs up to my head, so I can drown out her voice and stuff like this. I mean, it was really rude. And he made a comment to her which was so discriminatory about, when she's talking the way she is, it seems like she's got a touch of Asperger's syndrome. I couldn't believe that. I thought it was disgusting. Not only is that discriminating against people with Asperger's, because it's putting her down, and it's like putting Asperger's people down as well, and then he said to the court, I have a child who's got Asperger's, so that's how I can say what I said, because I recognise some of the Asperger's traits in her. So that's how he tried to cover his tracks. But I still think that was really rude, just because she seemed to have a really lively, bubbly personality from what I can tell. But he said, the staff don't like it, the customers don't like it, that's why her store figure's down. I can't stand it every time I have to drown her voice out. I feel like putting head cans on, and he was saying that she's driving customers away, and he goes, but I know she's good. She was given praise for her merchandise capabilities, for her store presentation. Everything was immaculate, and she was given some praise which was really contradictory about the fact that she's a friendly was it friendly or something? She was some part of her personality, he said, was good. Exactly, that's against the Equality Act. Some part of her personality, he said he said something good about her, but the rest he said he wasn't. He goes, oh, we want friendly, warm people, and that's not what she is. She doesn't listen, she doesn't listen. And they tried to give her some advice and told her to phone these other managers to get advice on how to manage a store better, basically. And she didn't phone the two people in question, which I think the HR person said she should phone these two people. Yeah, that's right. But she didn't phone these two people up because she said she spoke to managers who she felt more comfortable in speaking to. So that went against her, and they gave her 6 weeks to get 30 grand, a target of 30 grand, or her job was under threat. And she got the 30 grand, but because she didn't get 5 grand each week of those to make the 30 grand up, each week she didn't get the 5,000, then he wasn't happy with that. But he was also, the co-director wasn't happy with her targets because she was going over target from the previous year, which was 2016 to 2017. So she must have been there. Yeah, she must have been there at least a year, then a year and a half, because this was October 2017. He said the period from 2016 to 2017. So she must have been there a while. And he said, oh, she'd made she got a percentage up on the previous year, but he wasn't happy with the targets that were set for the previous year and that year because he thought they were too low. Well, that's not her fault. That's a management problem, isn't it? If he's not happy with the targets the store has been set, surely as a co-director he has say in what the store targets are. I mean, that's just ridiculous. It's not her fault. Anyway, what happened was they did get her out of the job. He got a replacement for her before she even left. And she was dismissed. And then what happened is he got this other manager in, the one that he'd already got in before she left. That manager didn't last very long in the job. And then he got another manager in and it still wasn't profitable. So he closed it at the beginning of 2018, which proved that it wasn't her. What she was saying was correct. She was saying that the store was in a very bad area, catchment area. She was saying that there was roadworks that went on that affected the store and went on for a lot longer than there should have been. And she said quite a few things, and she, basically, if it had been her, then it means that other managers after she left would have stayed and would have made it work, but they couldn't make it work either. It was non-profitable, so he closed it. So I just thought it was really rude. I thought very, very rude. I thought the guy was quite narcissistic, I thought, with the way he treated her. I thought it was very discriminatory when he was making the reference to she's like someone with a touch of Asperger's syndrome. I just think that's so rude to people with Asperger's syndrome and rude to her as well. It's really bad. And some of the stuff they were saying in their it had all their personal emails going back from HR to the co-director, and it showed them up in such a bad light. One woman, I mean, obviously this is what the manager as well said the reason she was firing for grounds of race, which she didn't get, was because the HR woman, it sounds like the environment wasn't positive. Well, you've come in the middle of the conversation, Heather. Yeah, basically the co-director didn't like the woman's personality, so he blamed that on why the figures were low to get her out and dismiss her. That's what actually happened. But because she'd filed for discrimination of race, which they couldn't prove because they got people of all different ethnicities in other groups, and they'd taken on other ethnicities since she'd been there, because she was Polish. Then that the court said that can't be the case because they're still taking on other people in the company that are like that. But the reason she was filing that is because she was Polish, she had 2 other people working for her, I think they were both Polish, and she tried to employ other Polish people, and the HR woman turned around and said, oh, we don't want any more Poles, this is not a Polish shop. And so that's why she was trying to file for race. And then the HR woman said, well, all she meant was we shouldn't just focus on Polish people. We should be focusing on all different types of people. That was her comeback because since they took her on as manager, they had employed other people and they'd just taken other managers on in other stores, which were of different races. they were found to be innocent in that respect because they were still employing people with different ethnicities, and so that's how come they were found innocent. But they said had she had the case of unfair dismissal, full stop, in the way she was treated in the legal proceeding, there was a lot of things that were unfair, so she would have won, but she didn't take them for that, sadly. That's why she lost the case. So it's just a shame, and that the person she had who represented her in court, he wasn't used to employment tribunal stuff. He was a legal advisor, but not in that. And so he was advising her incorrectly in the beginning. He didn't even tell her when she needed to get her paperwork in. So at the beginning of this 22-page PDF of court proceedings that I read through for 2 hours, the guy didn't tell her that she had a time limit on when she needed to get a certain documentation, and he didn't tell her about the documentation within the time, and so the court had it just over a month late. But because that wasn't her fault, because the legal guy didn't tell her that, as soon as he said to her about when it needed to be in, she got it in straight away the next day. She was pardoned for that because that wasn't her fault, and he should have known better. But he wasn't he wasn't experiencing industrial tribunal, such cases. So I think if he had been, then he could have seen, like I could plainly see, that she was discriminated unfairly because she was unfairly dismissed in the way they went, hi Frank, she was dismissed in a constructive way. So she got them for unfair constructive dismissal and hadn't just specifically specified race, then she would have won. And I just think it's a shame she didn't do that for her sake. But, the store's closed. But obviously I went for a job interview where this is a family-run business, and this co-director I'm likely to meet, right? So even though I was going for a job in my city where this co-director doesn't, work, and I was going not for a manager's position, but for a salesperson, because I know that he said in the court he sacks everyone who's a manager doesn't meet their targets within 6 months. So I was very worried about going for this interview, and I'd been in the store before and liked it, and I thought, the job looked good and that I could do it because it's furniture, my passion in a normal job, and the hours seemed good. It's not far from where I live, about 15-minute walk. So anyway, I thought I've got to go to it. I have to show up to the interview. I think it's the right thing to do. So I got there in the shop. And there was a girl at the till, and I didn't know she was Amy, the manager, or not. So I couldn't interrupt her because she was with customers. Obviously, if I'm going for a job with customers and customer service, you don't want to be interrupting that person when they're with customers because it's rude, and you instantly could be seen as like, well, she's going to be no good for the job. So I waited till she'd finished, and I said, oh, are you Amy? She goes, no, I'm not Amy. And there was a bloke, so I asked him. He was a foreign guy, actually, older guy, and I asked him, I said, I've come for an interview with Amy. And he said, oh, I think she's up there with someone else still because the door's shut. So, yeah, I'm sure she'll, come down and call you or whatever when she's ready. And so I'm like, okay. So I was in the shop for about 20 minutes just looking around, waiting to be interviewed. And it seemed like 20 minutes. It must have been like quarter of an hour. And anyway, in the meantime, I was looking around. I was talking to the woman, the woman that was downstairs, asking her what the job's like and asking her loads of questions that I'd normally ask in an interview, because I thought I may as well just cut to the chase and find out to see what she thinks, especially as I've read all that industrial tribunal. I couldn't say that because you don't say that to someone. So I just said, oh, hi. She seemed really friendly and nice. So I said, oh, do you like your job? I said, I'm assuming you do. She goes, well, I've never found anything bad about it. I like working here. Yeah, she goes, I've been here 1.5 years. So I said, oh, that's really good. And I said, do you live in Exeter? She said, yeah, I live just up around the corner from the job. I said, oh, that's really handy. So I noticed that there's the sofas, they got futons on, and they look quite heavy. Now, I've never worked in sofa beds before. I've worked in bedroom furniture, so wardrobes, bedside tables, dressing tables. I've worked with beds, duvets, bed linen, pillows, all that type of thing, bedside tables, headboards, mattress protectors, all those type of add-on things. So I've done that, but I've never worked with sofas before. So I was a little bit worried about the weight of the mattresses. And so when I got in there, whilst I was waiting, I was feeling the mattress and they did feel heavy. And I wasn't sure if I could lift them or not. And I said to the girl, who worked there, I said, "Oh, do you need to demonstrate these sofas? I'm assuming you do." She goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Do you need to lift the mattresses?" And she said, "Yeah." She goes, "Oh, it's really," I said, "Are the mattresses heavy?" She goes, "Yeah, they're really, really heavy." She goes, "And we have to lift stock from upstairs downstairs. Because I said, "There isn't a lift in here." She goes, "No." And there was only 3 staff in the whole of the store that worked there: her, this guy, and the manager. And the situation was the manager is pregnant and going on maternity leave. The other guy who's in the shop with her as a sales assistant, he's going to be made to assistant manager while she's off and running the store. And that leaves a vacancy. But I don't even know if the vacancy is just temporary, because I saw a job advertised with the same sort of description, but temporary. So I don't know if they're going to put that guy up to assistant manager temporary, then back down and get rid of the other person. I don't know. And I didn't think about that till I got home. So anyway, I'm asking this girl, Daisy was her name, I'm asking her about mattresses, and she said, yeah. And then she said about the fact of taking the mattresses down the stairs and all the products. And I've got fibromyalgia, as you know, and I can't do heavy lifting. And I'm just thinking, I'm not going to be able to do this job. This is just really bad. I just know I'm not going to be able to do it, because I can't. In my old job, I was a showroom person. The wardrobes were fitted. The bed was there. The bedside tables were all fitted. I worked for 5 years, talking people through bedroom and home office furniture and showing them samples of fabrics for headboards and for the furniture and for stools and window seats and stuff, and booking a designer to go out and see them and sell the design in their own home, basically made to measure, right? Well, almost made to measure, made to fit your space, right? So they designed it from scratch, but I used to have to do the selling, the talky bit and all the samples. So I used to have to sell them on the concept of what their bedroom would look like. So there was a certain design aspect in terms of, like aesthetics and picturing it. I didn't get involved in any of the measurement side of things, like nothing CAD design. The designer did all that. So that was my job for 5 years. I was good at it. And I loved it. As a day job goes, as a normal day job goes, I loved it. I mean, writing's my hugest passion. Asexuality, follows closely in, business and entrepreneurship is what I love. But anyway, thanks for the thumbs up. I really appreciate it. So I was talking to her, and then I'm like, okay. So, and she goes, "Oh yeah, if anyone's off sick, because there's only 3 of us, sometimes," because I said, "Are you ever in the store on your own?" Because I was concerned about that. And she said, "Oh yeah, well, because there's only 3 of us, if one person's off sick, the other person's on a day off, you in the store on your own." And I said, "Well, how do you have a lunch break then?" She goes, "Well, you don't have a lunch break on those days." And I'm like, this is going to be no good, because as a person who gets low blood sugar, I have to eat every 2 hours. So because I said, "How long's your lunch?" And she said 2 hours. But she said, you don't get that if you're the only one there. She goes, "You can eat your food at the desk." Which is a bit unprofessional anyway, but obviously you got to eat. So I'm like, "Well, what do you do if you've got to go to the toilet then?" And she's like, "Oh, well, basically, you don't really, but if you need to go, there." She goes like this, she's like, which basically means, well, you got to try and put up with holding it. Do you know what I mean? That's what it means. But her body language is just like this. And then she said, "Well, if you've got no customers, because sometimes it's quiet in here, you can close the door for 5 minutes, run upstairs and run back down again, open the store up." And I can't do heavy lifting because of my fibro. I need to I go to the toilet about every hour because I've got weak bladder, and I have to be eating every couple of hours. So the job clearly wasn't any good for me, because I know it's a small team. I wouldn't want to let the team down. The guy and the girl seemed really lovely people. But I just physically, I found out I had fibro because in 2012 I was doing a job and my arms went into spasms because I was working for a well-known electrical retailer, and I was carrying a 21-inch LED TV down the stairs for a customer, and my arms just started going into spasms, and I couldn't work like that. I couldn't carry the TV. It's a 21-inch, the 19-inch. I mean, they're not that big. And in the end, my arms started going into spasms just from carrying teas down the blooming stairs. I was just like, I didn't know what's wrong with me. And that's when they started doing these tests on me with the going to different things. I had a physio, a podiatrist and a hip specialist. And then eventually I was referred to the hospital. misdiagnosed, and then had to get an outside body of the NHS, backwards and forwards with letters to this woman who helped me get a reassessment. In early 2012, I was diagnosed, in January 2012, I was diagnosed with fibro. So it was quite a long, lengthy process. The physio said there's definitely something wrong with me, because he gave me simple Pilates exercises to do, and I couldn't do them without being in pain, a lot of pain. And he said, you should be able to do these exercises. It's not normal. He said, my outer muscles are really strong, but my inner muscles aren't. And so this is how come I don't really do the lifting, because I know if I can't carry a 21-inch TV or even a 19-inch TV and they go into spasm, I can't have that again. So after that, I took a year out after I left that electrical job. And then I went back into a job that I've been in for 5 years until the year before last. And it was a perfect job in terms of my disability, because I could go to the I was pretty much my own boss, running my own department. It wasn't busy all the time. I could go to the toilet in between customers when I liked. I could have food breaks every 2 hours or whenever I needed to. My boss was really good about that. I could walk there. I was really good at selling. I was great at my job. And so it's a perfect job for me. But sadly, in terms of a day job, a normal job, it was great. But, it ended. And so now it's really difficult for me to find employed work with my fibromyalgia, because, if you tell the truth, which you really need to, because I'll find it out anyway, and there's lots of things you can't do, then, you're likely to be performance manager out the job and be sacked anyway, to be quite honest, because I've been a manager. I know what happens, where it should happen or not. They say, oh, disability should be welcomed. But if you've got a manager, right, and they are interviewing people, if they know you have a disability, which means you can't do certain things, right, that an able-bodied person can do, then of course they're going to go for the able-bodied. Of course they can't say, oh, we're not going for you because of this. But if you can't do the things that they need you to do. So, for example, if I go for an interview, right, and they don't know I've got fibromyalgia, they don't know. But if I tell them the truth, right, that I need breaks every 2 hours, right, most jobs only have one break for lunch. Now, this job was an hour's break for lunch if you got it. But you don't, like I was told by that member of staff, if you're on your own, you don't get it. But that's no good for me. When I was in my old job, I had like an hour split into quarter of an hour in the morning, half an hour in lunchtime, and quarter of an hour in the afternoon. But, most jobs some jobs, like there's a supermarket just opposite where I live. They're advertising jobs all the time, but they only have half an hour break, and the management choose it. So one guy didn't get his break till like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And they work really long hours, like really long hours. And I can't work there because it's loads of heavy lifting as well. You're not just on the till, you're lifting big pallets. Even skinny, thin girls are lifting big pallets there, and there's a lot of heavy work. Even the job centre guy said it would be too much for me. So I'm really limited into what I can do. Not because I physically can't lift stuff, but because it goes into spasm, and then I'm just in pain, and I just can't do anything. I have to have ibuprofen for 40 minutes that don't really work, and then, you can't be like that because it's not sustainable. You'll end up just doing yourself an injury or being off work for a long period of time. So obviously, if I'm being honest and say I need breaks every 2 hours, I need to go to the toilet every hour, and I can't do heavy lifting, if you say those things against a person that's able-bodied, that doesn't have to go to the toilet very often, that doesn't have to have regular breaks, they can just fit in with the whole team, like they can have half an hour lunch whenever the manager dictates. Do you know what I mean? You're going, and they can do whatever lifting you want. You're going to go for the person that can do all that stuff. As a manager, it's your bottom line. It's your money in the store, and it's your profitability, and it's how many man hours they can be on. These people can be on the shop floor. So in general, most managers are going to go for the able-bodied person. It's just the way it is. It's not, they can't do that on purpose and say it's discrimination, because they're not saying I'm not employing you because of that. But they can say that I'd be no good for a job if the large proportion, of the job is something I physically can't do. If it's in the job description, if I can't do what's in the job description, I'm not suitable for the job. Yes, it's hidden discrimination, Andy. Exactly. So anyway, I am getting to the point of where I talked about my asexuality. Don't worry, that is coming. But I just wanted to set the scene of the whole day, because it was a very weird day, as you can imagine. I hardly got any sleep because I was really nervous anyway after I'd read that PDF report. So, I got about, 2 hours sleep, I think, in total. And anyway, but I'm quite good at thriving off not much sleep. I mean, I feel a bit tired now, but not much. Still sounds like a very bad setup in that shop. Better off out of it. Exactly, Andy. Yeah, exactly. I did think I dodged a bullet, to be honest. So by the time I spoke to that girl, I was just thinking, this job's going to be no good for me. I felt like walking out, and I thought, don't, because in the UK, if you don't live in the UK, Andy does, but if you don't live in the UK over here, if you aren't earning enough income in your main work, your self-employed work, or whatever the work you're doing, you get some benefits from the government to help pay for your, and the government and council over here to help pay for your roof over your head and some food. But the benefits aren't usually enough to cover everything. And you don't get, in my city, you don't get full council tax and stuff like that allowance. You have to pay for something. You don't get full rent either. You get a lot of it, but not all of it. So, yeah. Sorry, there was a lag on it then. And so anyway, in order to go to the job centre and get these benefits, I have to be seen to be seeking work, which getting interviews is good because, it proves you're seeking work, and it's still good to get them. So I couldn't back out of it and just go and leave. And it's not really my style anyway, but I felt like saying to them, just tell the manager I'll be no good for the job and this is why. But I thought, no, Sandra, just go through with it. And so anyway, I did think it was a bit rude that no one had come and see me for 15 to 20 minutes where I got to the interview on time. And, it's like where, I understood that they were finishing off with a person, but about 20 minutes later, they should have been finished. Anyway, the guy decided to go and knock, the guy and girl decided between them that one of them should go and knock on the door because the door had been shut for quite a while. They assumed that there was another person being interviewed in there because no one had come out and said otherwise. No one had come out to get me. So that's what they assumed. And when they opened the door, they'd been sitting there waiting for me. And so when I was taken through, they said, oh, she was here on time. Just we thought you were interviewing someone else. So I actually thought that was quite rude that they didn't come down and actually come and get me for the interview. I thought that's bad because how's the staff supposed to know they finished with their previous interviewee? Especially if they've been busy with customers and deliveries. And why didn't they just come down and get me? So I thought that was really strange. So I'm now going to tell you what's happening when I go in there. So let me drink some water. So now I go in there and there's a human resources manager from head office who sat opposite me, who incidentally is coloured, just because obviously I was talking about the original case of race. She's a black woman and very bubbly, seems a nice person. And to the right of me, I didn't know who was who first. To the right of me is the manager who's pregnant and going on maternity leave. And so the woman from HR has taken the whole interview and kind of I'm looking at her throughout most of it. I say most of it because it didn't last long and I would, as you probably could have gathered by now. And the other person, the manager's on the right. And I was mostly looking at this woman in front of me. And she's going, oh, so what job are you doing at the moment? What's your employment situation? First of all, she asked me if I got any holidays booked. I have to say this. First of all, she asked me if I got any holidays booked. And I said yes and gave her a list. But I'd already told her, and she says, oh, because it was quite a long list. She goes, oh, are any of these any special occasions? Doing anything special? I knew what she was getting at. She was trying to think if I just shoved any dates down there or are they genuine dates. And he'd offer said, well, my friend's 50th birthday's this year, which is true. She's older than me, but my best female friend, quite a bit older than me. But yeah, she says that quite a lot. She goes, I've got a few years on you yet. But yeah, my best friend, I saw her today, actually. The one that was in hospital and survived and lived, survived septicemia, bless her. So I saw her today, actually. So she's having a massive 50th birthday party. She's paid for me to stay in a hotel. And I told her this. I said, yeah, my friend's having a 50th birthday party in April. I said, she's paid for me to stay in a hotel. It's all booked. So obviously I've got to go to that. And also it's my birthday in April. So both of our birthdays are in April. I said, I've already booked stuff up because I knew that I was, theoretically I booked stuff up because I'd spoke to my friend Annie on here and I knew he was seeing me. And I'd hoped to have an asexual meet-up theoretically for my birthday, but I didn't know if I could at that time. Since then, my mum says she's going to give me money for the train fare to go and the money for admission to a theme park that I want to go to. So now I'm throwing it open to other people who are asexual to come and join me in my birthday. But it means staying over in Exeter the night before on the 23rd of April for my birthday on the 24th of April and leaving at 8:42 in the morning, which is about 2 hour journey with train and bus. And the park's open 11 till 4 and it's going to be amazing. It's got roller coasters, log flume ride, tons of stuff. I usually always go out for my birthday on my own. So when Andy agreed to even, just him to come for my birthday, it was amazing. I was so happy. I'm like, wow, not on my own for my birthday in the day. This is incredible. I was so happy he could come. So I did ask him first before anyone else. And then obviously it'd be nice to have some more asexual friends. I didn't know I was going to make it as part of a meetup. I wasn't sure because of money and stuff. But as my mum's going to pay for some of it as part of my birthday present, the theme park and the train, I think that's good. I still got to pay for bus fare, food, lunch for evening meals, stuff like that, and the day before the meet and after the meet food as well. But, it's still going to be good. I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be a birthday to remember because I don't usually have anyone with me in the daytime. I see my parents usually in the evening, but they're going to come over the morning before the day. So I won't see them on the day, which will be a little bit sad for me. But it'll be so good because I'll be with friends. And I think as a young person, you really need that sometimes as well. So it'll be really good for me. I'm really super excited. I've digressed. But anyway, so I was telling the woman that it was my friend's 50th birthday and that it was my birthday that I booked stuff up. I said, both our birthdays are in April. I said, also, I've got a friend coming over from India. She's a female friend, by the way, not a male. And so I've known her for it's over 6 years. And she's coming over. I don't have a date. It's in April. I wanted to get the date from her, but she just didn't have it because legally I don't know if it's legal, but they're supposed to honour any holiday you've given over in the interview. They're supposed to honour it. But they're supposed to honour it, and then what they say in the interview, if they're going to honour it, they have to honour it. Anyway, I do recall now that the woman downstairs, she did, when I was asking her about the job as well, she did say, oh yeah, it's great if someone calls in sick because I just live around the corner. If something, calls in sick or something happens, they need extra staff, they can just call me. And I was thinking, I don't want that. Not because I do my own business stuff. Do you know what I mean? I know in retail it is like that, but if you've got a few more people in the shop, it isn't so like that. But if there's just a few, free staff, then of course they're going to rely on you more. But it's like if I've got stuff booked up, I've got stuff booked up. And anyway, and so I explained that to her. So that's what I did first. And then she asked me, what have I been doing for employment? What are you doing currently? I said, well, I'm self-employed and redundant. And she's going, oh, I said, how does that work? I said, well, I was made redundant from my employed job of 5 years in John Lewis as a fit bedroom specialist. I told her what I did. That's where I worked, by the way, for 5 years. And I said, selling bedroom furniture, and I explained what I did, match customers' needs to the products, showed them the samples, fabric samples, furniture samples, booked an appointment for a designer to go out, and I pretty much sold the bedroom design before the designer went out. And so I was really good at that job. And I said, so I was doing that. She goes, but when did you leave that? I said that it was October 2017. She goes, 2 years ago. That's 2 years ago. I said, well, a year. And the manager's like, no, it's a year and a few months. I said, yeah, a year and a few months. She's like, well, what have you been doing in that time? And I said, and then that's when I started talking about the asexual stuff, because I've got to tell the truth, And I said, well, actually, I was, because that's why I said, well, I write books. I've got some books out on Amazon. And I design T-shirts. And she said, well, what books have you written? So I said, I got a book, and my mouth was going really dry at this point because thinking, oh my God, I've got to say it because, people want to know what you're doing. And if you're doing nothing, it's worse than whatever you're doing usually. So I just thought I'll just say it because obviously I've got nothing to lose anyway. I'm not going to get the job lightly because I can't do the job. So I just said, well, I got a book called Asexual Perspectives, 47 Asexual Stories, Love, Life and Sex, A Celebration of Asexual Diversity out. And I said I was a speaker at the UK Asexuality Conference last year in London. And I said I do a YouTube show for asexuals as well. I've been educating about asexuality since 2015. I said most people have never heard of it. You've probably not heard of it. And she goes, no, we haven't. And the manager's like, no. And I said, well, it's basically a sexual orientation. It's a lack of sexual attraction. I said, which is what I am in sexual orientation. I said, and I've been, helping people online with it since 2015. And I said, it's 1% of the population. I said, and I organise asexual meetups in my city. And people come from all over to them. Because obviously all these skills is really good for an interview because it means I've got really good organisational skills. It means I've got really good communication skills. It means I'm really good at designing things, which when you're in furniture business, you're kind of like a design flair anyway, because you kind of have to help people design their bedroom with them. And obviously all these things are really good skills. And she said, I'm really glad you told me what you do because, I thought you'd just been sat at home doing nothing. So it was really important that you did tell me this stuff that you do. And she said, it sounds like you're busy. It sounds like you're really busy. I said, yeah, I am really busy, actually. Really busy. I do a lot of stuff, actually, because I said, I've got my own YouTube live stream show and stuff. She's like, oh, really? And so she could see I was really enthusiastic, and that went well in the interview. So, do you know what I mean? That was a really good point. She was really happy. She said, I'm glad you told me this because otherwise I would have just thought you sat at home doing nothing. And obviously they don't want someone like that in an interview. They don't want someone like that for a job. So, so that went all amazing well. And I said, and I've got another book coming out soon, which is my fibro book. And I'm like, I've got fibromyalgia. Yeah. So I thought I should mention it to you and be honest. And I said, because that's great and brave of you to tell them. Thank you, Andy. So thanks so much. It means a lot. And so I said, yeah, I said, I got fibromyalgia. And they kind of looked at me. I said, yeah, it can affect my job. I said, to be honest, I was talking to the girl downstairs and I found out there's quite a bit of heavy lifting in job, like the mattresses. I've been a little bit worried about that. And she goes, yeah. She goes, not only do you have to lift mattresses, I said, you have to lift stock down the stairs. She goes, yep, that's correct. And you also have to take some goods out to the customer's car for them. It's a requirement of the job that you do that. She goes, so if you've got a problem with, if you've got a problem with your health, with, you can't do that, then that's part of the job. I said, well, I can't. I said, I could give it a go, but I can't guarantee I can do that. I said, because my arms could go into spasms. And she goes, well, I'm really glad you're honest. She goes, because there's not many people that are honest about these things. I said, well, the job centre said I don't need to say it in an interview. She goes, don't forget this is a HR manager of the company. She said, yes, but if you didn't tell me, she said, we would have found out anyway, and I would have asked for doctor's notes and records, and we would have to have these interviews about what you can and can't do in the job, and you wouldn't be able to do this, and you wouldn't be able to do that, and the other. And she said, and it's no good if it's affecting your health. She said, your health and well-being should be first priority. She said, and if we can ask you to do things that would affect your health. So basically, she was saying in a polite way, which I already know, she would performance manage me out the job. So if I got in it, I wouldn't be in it very long, which is why I don't want to get a job that I know I'm going to have problems with. Because if I get pain from doing, that's in the job description, that I have to lift stuff, demonstrate stuff to demonstrate products to customers that I can't lift very easily. Because the girl downstairs, she was saying she finds it really, really problem. In the end, I told her I have fibro because I kept, my face just said it all. Every time she was like, yeah, it's heavy. It's really, really heavy. And we've got to do this and we've got to do that. And, you don't get the breaks and you don't get to go to the toilet, very easily. And I'm like, oh. I just thought to myself, so that was when the interview basically ended. She goes, well, you did well, but ultimately better not to be in that job. Yeah. So I was getting a bit upset because I said, it's just annoying because I feel like I've wasted your time, because I can't do the job, and I feel like, I have this condition, which is not my fault, but it's just annoying for me because I could do the other part of the job. I could do the customer selling. I said, face to face, matching the customer's needs to products, interacting with customers. She said, you sound like you really get on well in a job, thrive in a job. There's lots of customer interaction. I said, yeah, I do. I said, and that's, what I don't get at home. I don't get that customer interaction that I do miss. I said, because I love that. Obviously, I'd rather work from home anyway overall, but I do miss that bit of the job. So I was bigging it up more, I guess, but I do miss that. Because I'm an extrovert, I do miss that. But I guess I was putting a bit more emphasis on that. But I said, if you ever get a job that's like a temp, like a freelancer job where I could come in and just do the customer side, then let me know. But obviously she was like, basically they don't have that type of position. But she said, oh, you'd be good in a showroom. She goes, and like I had before my previous job, she said, you'd be great at that, where you'd be just dealing with a customer, you wouldn't have to lift anything. I said, yeah, that's what I was doing in my old job. She goes, oh, well, there's loads of showroom jobs around. But what she doesn't realise is the majority of showrooms, for a start, I can't do a car showroom because I don't drive. And a lot of the other showrooms, they involve things like designing. So you have to be a qualified designer as well. Like if you do kitchen showroom assistant, you have to be able to usually design the kitchens as well. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, you know, I mean, a lot of them aren't in my city centre. They're out in where you need public transport. Some of them are easy to get to, and some of them are a pain in the backside to get to. And I don't really want somewhere in the city centre, so I haven't got loads of extra time added on to the time, you know, that I've travelling. I mean, years ago, I got up at 6:50 and did 11-hour shift out in an out of town store for like several days in a row when I was a manager, and then didn't get back till 9:10 at night. And so 6:50 I have to be up 9:10 at night. By the time I got home and I don't get my full hours sleep anyway. And it was just, it felt like I was wasting about 3 hours of my life each day, you know, in travel and getting up early to travel. It's just like, ugh. So I don't really want. So that's why I love the fact this job was in the city centre, not far from where I work. But, you know, and in the end, anyway, so that's what they said. Obviously, you can't, you know, the job's not suitable for you, but we're really happy that you told us and were so honest with us. You know, after she said what would have happened and all the doctors know, I said, well, I got a letter from the hospital that says I got fibre. She goes, well, there you go then. She goes, it's not worth putting your health at risk. She goes, and we can ask you to do that. And so they had loads of other candidates that day anyway to interview, apparently. So they were doing a full interview day from what I can understand. Because the girl downstairs, she said, oh, they're interviewing all day. So yeah, but what was really funny is, but she goes, oh, we might see you on TV then. Because what happened is what I forgot to tell you is, I was on about the 2 of the days that I asked for holiday. 2 of them were interviews. One was for Asexuality, because I'm going to be in a documentary, and the other one is a podcast, an entrepreneur podcast. So I said, you know, those are 2 of the days that I've already got booked up for that, I said. And she goes, oh, we might see you on TV one day. Then I said, well, yeah, I'd love my own chat show on TV, actually. But I said, it'd be great. I said, actually, I've been on TV twice, but not for Asexuality. I said, so, yeah, it would be good. And she goes, so it ended up really quite friendly. Them thinking I would be good in a different type of job, like my last job. Them thinking I'd be great in television and stuff, I think, which is what I'm born for anyway, really. Yeah, so it ended really positively, but I did cry when I came out, because it's horrible when you have a condition that, like, you know, prevents you doing a lot of jobs. And you know that people are going to choose other people over you, because most managers would. They do what's right for their business, not what's right for the person who's in front of them, because obviously they can have their pick. And a lot of jobs these days, you have to be able to multitask and do loads of different things. They cut down on breaks. I mean, legally you can go, you know, you don't have to have a break. Used to be every 4 hours you had to have a break. Legally, it then went to 5 hours. I think it might have gone up to 6 now. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So it's just, and obviously you should be able to have a break in a day, but if you've only got 3 people and one is off sick and the other's on a day off, then you've got to open the store yourself and manage it, haven't you? Run it, basically, and be there, you know, all the time. So, yeah, it's really difficult. It does make me upset. I did come out and cry a little bit, but even though I've dodged a bullet. I mean, who wants to work for a company where the co-director discriminates against people in the first place, and it goes to industrial tribunal? Because when I was downstairs as well and talked to Gus, I said, oh, is there a Mr. Harris that's like one of the directors? She goes, oh, yeah, that's right, blah, 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 Harris. So I confirmed it with the name, and I said, she goes, oh, yeah, it's a family-run business, so we see the management team quite a lot there from head office. And I was thinking, oh, well, if he doesn't like a full-on personality, a strong woman, he ain't going to like me, is he, either? So I was thinking, yeah, better off out of that one. So, yeah, I dodged a bullet, really, because there's a lot of things that I couldn't do the job. I mean, it would just be physically bad for me, you know? I couldn't do it because, you know, I can't pee myself. Do you know what I mean? When you got to go, and there's only so long I can hold it. You know, I'm publicly saying this, but, you know, people do have disabilities, don't they? Do have special needs. It's the way it is in life. So, you know, I'm better off not having the job, but I did cry a little bit when I first came out, because it's just really hard when I feel it's a bit humiliating. Do you know what I mean? When I go in there thinking I just can't do this, because although I could physically give it a go, I know that the last job I ever did any so-called heavy lifting, I just couldn't do it. And when I was in John Lewis, right, I actually worked next to the bed department, but I didn't work on it. I didn't work for John Lewis. I worked for a company within John Lewis. under the John Lewis brand, and worked for my old company, Hammond's, if you must know. Hammond's make the furniture for John Lewis, but I'm not supposed to say that. So I was a manager for Hammond's for 3 years, and then a few years later they took me back after they made redundant in 2009. In 2012 they took me back on as a salesperson because there was no management position there, and I pretty much run the whole department anyway on my own, single-handedly, and I made shed loads of money for the company. I was actually a plus 160 something percent, I think it was, when they made me redundant, which is really weird why they made me redundant. I don't know if it had anything to do with the bullying that I complained about, because I was being bullied. So I did raise a complaint about that, but they couldn't do anything about it. So yeah, they wouldn't do anything about it, should I say. The John Lewis management. So yeah, I went through a couple of meetings and they tried to turn everything back on me. And then they got this person involved from HR in my company who did an assessment on me and said, there's nothing wrong with this woman. She's being bullied. Sort it out, basically, to my HR team. Like, you should be dealing with this. She's being bullied. She's stressed out. That's why she got doctor's notes. I was only off for 2 weeks and I had to go back. He was a narcissist. He was a narcissist which bullied me. I had him on the department next to me in beds for 5 years, and after 4 years I finally just snapped. I couldn't take anymore and I had to, because I had to go back. But luckily my best friend came and helped me out, and I did watch quite a number of YouTube videos to find out how to deal with a narcissist, and so I did that behaviour to him to try and because I've done a couple of videos about narcissism and how to deal with a narcissist and the 12 signs of a narcissist in previous videos if you need to know about that. And so I learnt techniques of dealing with him, but it was still a nightmare. He used to follow me around. He's a psycho over me. He used to follow me around other departments, just and get people to do work so they wouldn't talk to me, and pass them jobs so they couldn't speak to me. It was just bizarre. He used to come and pass my department and stare at me, and it was awful. And that's why I'm glad I was made redundant in that respect. I don't have to put up with a narcissistic bully anymore. So that was a really good thing. And I can get on more with my business ambitions and stuff. And, I was a speaker last year at the UK Asexuality conference, which I might not have been able to do if I'd have been working. So that there was a silver lining. But anyway, what I was going to say was there's a bed department next to where I worked, but I physically refused to do. They did sell a few sofa beds as well, but I used to tell the customers if the bed people were busy, sorry, I can't lift it because I've got a disability, so I have to wait for someone to come and demonstrate it for you, or lift a bed up if it was an Ottoman bed where it needed to be lifted up, because I wouldn't do it. Because once I helped one person, other person, not just me, lift a Temper mattress, and I had problems on my back for it was about a week at least from that, just lifting one mattress when someone else was lifting the other end. So I knew that I'd be no good going back doing a job like that. Whereas, because I used to manage a company called Benson's Beds for 3 years, which was a bed company, and I used to shift beds myself, big beds you're not supposed to lift on your own, and big thick mattresses, because I was a manager, and I used to move stock around and I built a bunk bed nearly completely on my own. I had one person helping with the last little bit, and then something he smacked me on the head when he got involved, so I better finish it on my own if I could, but I needed him to hold something. He wasn't good with health and safety. And then he ended up being a psycho as well, who I employed and didn't realise it at the time. And he after I'd left, they employed him as manager, and then he punched someone in the face after I'd left and got dismissed, because I was right about him. He was an actual psycho. That's what I mean. He started talking 3 months after he passed his probation. He started talking about burning trees down and things like that. And then I found out, yeah. So anyway, that's another story. But so yeah, it's you don't go around punching people in the face, do you? Luckily, I'd already left by then, and I knew what he was like, and they didn't listen to me. But then they found it out the tough way when he smacked someone in the face and got sacked for it. So he was weird. He was very weird. So yeah, he was a bit sexual as well with a girl member of staff that management didn't listen to me, was talking about her necklace around her neck and weird stuff like that. And he used to give her money and their things, and then she decided to keep quiet about his behaviour because he was giving her money. It was very weird. She was much younger than him, and she had a boyfriend, and he was married, and oh my goodness me. I think he was mentally ill, but in a really bad psychotic way, you know, one that's danger to other people. So in the past, I've had, like, my auntie had bipolar, but she would never harm anyone. And I know there's people with mental health difficulties that won't harm anyone but themselves. And there's other people with mental health difficulties that will purposely go and harm other people. So he was one of those people that will harm other people, which is the type you don't want to be working with or having someone work for you like that. So yeah, but in the interview he wasn't like that. He covered up really well. So yeah, but the thing I was trying to say is I can't do lifting. You know, it's not because I physically couldn't do it in the beginning, but it's the fact of repercussions, because my outer muscles, the physio said, are really strong, but my inner muscles aren't. Now I have a bed at home which is really thick, and I live on my own. It is double pocket sprung. It is heavy. You should have two people to lift it, really. So what I do is I only change it around, turn it around about every 3 months. But I use the wall and I prop it up against my wall. But I end up underneath it sometimes. My head ends up squashed between the mattress and the base. But because I am a strong girl, I can actually do it. But, you know, it's like a one-off, really, every few months. It's not going to really, you know, if I have a bit of damage there, I can pretty much heal quite quickly. And I'm used to doing it anyway by now. So it's not like I can't physically lift things a lot of the time. It's like over a prolonged period of time, or if I was doing it every day, you know. Or sometimes I get spasms the next day. Sometimes I can do something and it happens the next day. But if I was doing lifting all the time, every single day in the job, then I just have problems with my arms. I just can't do it. You know, like lifting a temper mattress when I've got someone else to help me, you know, I was helping them. I shouldn't be getting problems with my back like that for a week later. But it's because of fibro, so I just have to stay clear of stuff like that, you know. I am quite a strong girl, but you know, it's no good for inner muscles. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, there's no good me going in a job and then basically I'll be sacked soon because I can't physically do it, is there? Do you know what I'm saying? So it's very difficult when you live on your own. You have to look after yourself and pay for your own rent and pay for food and everything. Because I've got a special diet. I have to take supplements every day just to live. So I have to take kelp and digestive enzymes because I can't digest my food properly without the digestive enzymes. I was on 8 tablets a day by the doctor. So don't have the 8 tablets a day by the doctor, but I have enzymes, which anything natural you have to pay for yourself. The UK doctors, NHS won't pay for natural stuff. They'll only pay for pills, you know, popping chemical pills. Like they try and get everyone to pop. Because the pharmaceutical industry is really big business all over the globe. That's why people get you to put. That's why most doctors, psychiatrists, and everyone try and get you to have pills for everything because it's in their best financial interest to do it. So don't just think they're doing you a favour because they're not. There's a lot of, if you look into it, there's a lot of controversial stuff. I actually follow a psychiatrist who tells you what psychiatrists are told to tell their patients. And you look at that. I've already known this stuff. Theoretically known this stuff goes on, but he just confirms everything. He's a psychiatrist for years, and he tells you what the routine is. You know, so they make you think you need pills, so you have them because they tell you you're mentally ill, so you have to take them, basically. So yeah, so you got, and then a lot of the pills have side effects and more side effects, and if one doesn't work, then they have a list of others you can try, and cycle goes on and on and on. Instead of getting to the root cause of the problem in the first place, which is what counselling should be about. It should be about like you know, like the process of talking through problems and actually, you know, mindset and neuro stuff, not popping a pill, which really doesn't solve the problem. But anyway, that's even another story. So yeah, I just thought I'd share my day with you. And the fact that I did talk about asexuality pretty much throughout the majority of the short interview I had. And, you know, if you have got a disability that prevents you doing some jobs, it is hard. I am with you. You know, I did get a bit upset when I came out because it is a bit humiliating sometimes. But you have to think everything happens for a reason, onwards and upwards. I know really I'm not meant to go back into a full-time employed job. I know really I'm just born to work from home. It's what suits me. I'm not really great at working for other people, if I'm honest. I'm much better. I'm a leader, not a follower. I'm much better at doing things my way, you know, and being creative and expressionate and stuff like that. It's just that, you know, it's hard. So because my benefits don't cover anything, especially because I have to have the supplements, I have to have the digestive enzymes. I have to live, so I have to have 2 of them every morning to digest my food. Otherwise, I can't digest it because my doctor told me after 8 tablets when I was still poorly, couldn't digest my food properly. I was having pain in my chest every time I ate and other unpleasant symptoms. He told me, this is as good as it gets. I can't do anything more for you for the rest of your life, basically. I wasn't having that. I don't have that. I got brain on me and I use it. I don't just accept what a doctor tells me. I know loads of people, they'll go to the doctor, doctor told me this is what I have to do. That's not me. I don't do what my doctor tells me to do just because he tells me to do it. And a lot of the time I'll tell him what I do and do not want to do, because I lead my life, not him. And me and my doctor don't like seeing each other if we can help it, to be honest, because, I won't do, necessarily what he tells me to do. So, I've got my own mind. So anyway, I don't take meds for fibro. I refused them at the hospital, and the guy, doctor, acknowledged that at the time and said they won't cure it anyway, they won't help it, which people all over the world are taking pills for fibro. They're bedridden, lack energy and all the rest of it, and guess what? I've got tons of energy. I might have the I've still got symptoms of it, but I'm a lot different, There's a lot of stuff I can still do. I can still bounce around. I can still jump up and down. I can still go to theme parks, zoos and aquariums and enjoy my life, in spite of fibro. So it's all cool. But yeah, so I just wanted to share with you my day and my time. And I also have to kelp as well for a thyroid problem. So I have to have 6 kelp tablets a day. So in the morning as well for hypothyroidism, to prevent it. Instead of hormone replacement therapy, I have to take that for the rest of my life. So that costs money, but I have to do it to live, because I can, with the thyroid, you can end up in hospital and dying. But instead of taking tablets from the doctor before it got to that far, I take these kelp instead. Otherwise, I'll be on hormone replacement for the rest of my life, and I don't want that. No one wants that. So I take that instead, which costs me money. So I have to. Those are things that I cannot do that. Those are my main, bills, along with my phone bill, internet. That's what people think, They think when you're doing all this stuff, like, that's the thing with asexuality, I do a lot of stuff for asexuals for free. People don't realise they expect everything for free. Well, I can't do everything for free all the time. Do you know what I mean? Because websites have to be paid for, domains. Even for me to use Facebook, I still have to pay for the internet and my phone bills. If I decide one day I can't afford my phone bills, I can't afford the internet, I won't be doing the stuff I'm doing anymore. There'll be no YouTube. There'll be no Facebook groups that I'll be admin, that I'll be able to admin. My other admin could just take them on if he wanted to, of the 3 out of the 5 he's in. That I'd be not doing any website stuff. I'll be off the grid. Do you know what I'm saying? So people think about, groups are free, forums are free, all this stuff. They don't realise that the people behind these have to pay for stuff. They have to pay for internet. They have to pay if they've got websites. They have to pay for hosting. They have to pay for domain name. You have to renew the domain name every year. Web hosting you have to renew every year, or a couple of years, or 3 years. If you get a good deal, you still pay for it up front. You've still got all this stuff to take into consideration. So, I'm still paying for domain names, even though I'm technically not got a full-time job. And they add up to more than I'm making. So yeah. Anyway, so I'm going to be doing more entrepreneur stuff as well as all the asexual stuff I do. So yeah, it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to the rest of this year. I've got loads of plans still for this 3 months, as you know, and I'm just going to keep moving forward. But I'm glad that I've been able to educate some more people about asexuality at a job interview, and it actually went in my favour that I told them that I've been doing all this stuff rather than saying I don't do anything and keeping quiet about it, which I could have done. Anyway, thanks very much for tuning in. Thank you for the thumbs up. If you like this video and you haven't already given it a thumbs up, please hit the thumbs up button. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit the subscribe button down below. Please hit that bell icon to get notified of every time I go live like now or post a new video. And I will see you on the next live stream. Woo! It's been lovely to have you. Bless you. Thank you, Heather, for tuning in. Thank you, Annie, for tuning in. Thank you, everyone else that's tuning in.